Good morning. Good morning. It is a good morning. It is a divine morning here in Fort Collins, where we are giving our talk and our sharing of music. And we have the delight of having Franklin as our guest speaker today. So we're very excited to hear what he's bringing to the table, because I know that every time I've heard him speak, and that's not that many times, he has always fed my soul. So grateful for the opportunity to have Franklin bringing his gift as music as well as the technology and his talk today. So very exciting, and grateful to have Corey Culligan, who is now on board as our tech man. So things are happening here. Few announcements. We are open here at the office, and that's Monday through Thursday from 9 until 11:30. And we have a few folks that are in here. We have started creating teams, and that means together everyone achieves more. So we have a lot of teams that are starting up. We have a music director search team, and we have an administrative assistant search team. We have a youth program team. We have a budget and finance team. So please check it out. If there's something that calls to you, we'd love to have your involvement, because we know that the Unity community is you. And every person who adds to the mix adds to the joy and to the love of the expression of Unity. So I want to thank you for joining, for those that have already expressed interest, and for those that are interested but not even sure. So call, check it out. We'd be happy to give you more information. So that's what's happening today at 11 o'clock. If you can be here, please join our community connection, because it's a special one today. We're having our Franklin Appreciation celebration time. So we're going to pour on the love, and Franklin's going to be ready for that, I'm sure, just to get loved up. And if you happen not to be able to attend today, this will be recorded and will be put on our Unity of Fort Collins Facebook page, so that you can see it and you can add your love comments as you will. And we also have a visioning that is happening on Tuesday nights at 6 p.m. via Zoom. We had our first one last week, and it's opening to Spirit's vision of itself as Unity of Fort Collins. So please join us for that 1 hour experience as we open our minds to something greater that is the ministry here. And we'd love to have you participate with that. Very important, next Saturday, August 22nd at 11 a.m., we are having an hour and a half Zoom connection, and it is about council board overview. We have an interim council right now for 90 days up until October 15th. And so we are putting together with Tony Boehm from Unity a overview of what the roles and responsibilities are of a church council. So if you're planning on being a part of the council in the future, please attend. We also will be recording that as well, so you can get the information. But it's very exciting, because there's a lot of new things ready to be popping here. And that's what's happening. Lots of good things, lots of new things are sprouting and wanting to be birthed. So I'm just excited about all the opportunities that are now even more present than they have been before. As for opening up our church building, because I know some of you are wondering where we are on that, we're watching how Colorado is doing a really good job of keeping us safe. I am so grateful to our governor for the mandates of the mask and such, so that we are actually having our numbers drop, which is good. We will be exploring when and how that needs to happen in the upcoming days, perhaps in September, October, maybe at the latest. We'll start having some more in-house, but we're in a new phase. So if you want to join in with that opportunity, please let us know. Okay, so now let us just take a moment to go within and begin our service. And as we drop within to that sacred space, we breathe. We breathe and we relax. We breathe and we open. We open to that divine breath that is love, that is life itself. We know that the air that we breathe is love, that our bodies are instruments of love, the cells of our body, our minds, our hearts. For there is only one thing, and that is the divine. We know the divine in its highest expression is the vibration and the energy of love, unconditional, all-encompassing, healing love. So we just breathe in that love. And we know that love is truly the power and presence that we are here as. So we open our hearts and our minds to the message, to the energy of this day, of the love that each of us is, each a unique, individualized expression of divine love. And so we give thanks for this opportunity to be here this morning, knowing it is the divine love in expression, opening to greater expressions of itself. And so we let go, we let God, knowing it is already so, as we say together, and so it is. And breathing that in together. And we're going to get ready to speak our Unity of Fort Collins opening statement. And before we begin that, I just want to remind everyone, and you can say this with me if you know it, what is our vision statement? Our vision statement at Unity of Fort Collins is that we are centered in love. We are inspired by spirit. We awaken, connect, and thrive. So breathing that in, let us speak our unity statement together. And I love to put my hands on my heart. And so together, our unity centers us in light and peace, allowing us to recognize our God within and to radiate that love to the world. And so it is.
Open my eyes to you. I open my hands to you. Open my arms to you. I open my heart to you. I open my eyes to you. I open my hands to you. I open my arms to you. I open my heart to you. I see you. I serve you. I hold you. I love you. I see you. I serve you. I hold you. I love you. I open my eyes to you. I open my hands to you. I open my arms to you. I open my heart to you. I open my eyes to you. I open my hands to you. I open my arms to you. I open my heart to you. I see you. I serve you. I hold you. I love you. I see you, I serve you, I hold you, I love you. I open my eyes to you, I open my hands to you, I open my arms to you, I open my heart to you, I open my eyes to you, I open my hands to you, I open my arms to you, I open my heart to you.
Today's reading comes from The Miracle Minute by Mary Morrissey. It's entitled, The Other Side of the Boat. Do you remember the story in the Bible about the disciples who had been fishing and fishing and fishing in the Sea of Galilee, yet getting nothing? Jesus, the great wayshower, said to them, "Take your nets and put them on the right side of the boat." They do that, and their nets come in so full that they are breaking under the weight of all the fish that they're now bringing up. The whole bottom of their boat now becomes filled with the fish that they were trying so desperately to get before that. Now, it doesn't make sense to the logical mind that on one side of the boat, in the very same water, a net is catching nothing, and that on the other side of the boat, there is so much that it almost breaks the net. What is Jesus really saying to us? That there is a, quote, right way. In the right side of our nature is our creative self. It is our intuitive self. It is the self that can really hear the voice of God. So today, let's go to the right side of the boat of our life, and we ask, what would Spirit place in the net of our own activity, our own thinking, our own being? And we listen. And so we listen. And so it is.
Come with me, and you'll be in a world of pure imagination. Take a look, and you'll see into your imagination. We'll begin with a spin, traveling in the world of my creation. What we'll see will defy explanation. If you want to view paradise, simply look around and view it. Anything you want to, do it. Want to change the world, there's nothing to it. There is no life I know to compare with pure imagination. Living there, you'll be free if you truly wish to be. To see magic lands, close your eyes and you will see one. Want to be a dreamer, be one. Anytime you please, and please save me one. Come Come with me and you'll be in a world of pure imagination. Take a look and you'll see into your imagination. There is no place to go to compare with your imagination. So go there to be free if you truly wish to be. Living there, you'll be free if you truly wish to be. Good morning, everyone. And I am delighted to be the speaker this morning for the service. And speaking to you has become one of my favorite things over the last 6 years. And I'm just really pleased that Liz invited me to speak this morning, especially knowing that this is going to be the last time that I'll be a part of services for a while. I'll have more to say about that later. But I wanted to just tell a little bit about my experience of inspiration, because inspiration is one of the central parts of my life. I have the desire to live basically from inspiration to inspiration. And I've studied it a lot, and I've learned a lot about it. And the things that I'm going to share this morning are just things that I've observed and have experienced myself. Back in the late 1980s, I was hired to be the sales manager for a church music distributor. Imagine that. And when I was hired for that job, it was the first real management job that I ever had. I was probably around 25 or 26 years old, and I really had no idea what I was doing. So at that point, I started to devour things like business and self-development and books about, being a better manager and being a better leader. And I found that I really loved reading those books. The literature to me was just fascinating. And that started a pretty much rest of my life habit of reading about things like personal development and self-help, and then moving into more spiritual kinds of reading. But the ones that I was reading that had to do with business and self-development were the ones that were having a real immediate impact on me at that time. And I also was, my job paid for me to take training and to go to workshops and seminars and classes. And I just thought that was the greatest thing. I always have loved learning ever since I was a little kid. And that hasn't stopped even to this day. I think learning is one of the best things about life. And so I was voracious. I wanted to learn as much as I could about everything that I could. In 1990, I came across a new then book called Flow, The Psychology of Optimal Experience. It was by a fellow named, and I'm going to try this as best as I can, Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. Yes, I'm going to have to look up the spelling. But that book was the first time that I'd ever really learned anything at all about peak performance and optimal experience. And basically what it was just a study of some of the top performers in things like music, sports, even in business. And it talked about what were the things that they did to allow their performance to be the most amazing thing that it could be, the peak that it could be. And it was that book really turned my head and got me interested in the whole idea of how can I be a better musician? How can I be a more high-performing person? How can I be a high-performing communicator? And I started to really take the things from that book and apply them in my own life. And my life really, that was one of the first times that I had ever had a book affect my life so directly and so powerfully. And one of the things that I think was really important in that book, and he didn't really call it inspiration, but he talked about using our ability to envision possibilities. And to me, that's all inspiration really is. It's just envisioning new possibilities, allowing new thoughts of new possibilities to enter into our awareness. And I think that to me was the beginning of my fascination with things like inspiration and creativity. And it grew from there. It grew from there to be, I wanted to understand the spiritual implications of peak performance and creativity. And so my studies just went all over the map. And I've read so much that I'm not even sure where to begin to talk about it. But today, thankfully, I've been given a topic. And that topic is around the topic of inspiration, like we've been talking about all month. But I'd like to talk mostly in particular about the quality of the inspiration that you receive. Because what I've found is that I have some part in the quality of the inspiration that comes into my awareness. And that to me is a really exciting and a fascinating fact. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And I also have some other stories to share. Another passion of mine has been reading stories and hearing stories of the spiritual awakening that people have. And I'm just blown away by the various ways that happens. But one of the things that I think is behind the experience of inspiration is spiritual awakening. And I feel like that one of the things that's happening when we have inspired thoughts, that spiritual awakening is actually going on right in that flash, in that moment, in that insight. We're becoming more of what our soul and spirit wants to be. It's very exciting. The other thing I'd like to spend some time talking about is to talk a little bit about how to understand how inspiration happens for you. And then I'd like to talk about some of the ways that I access inspirational thought and some of the ways that I prepare myself to receive it. So we're going to go into that in just a few minutes. And before we start that, I'd like to work through a little bit of an exercise just to get us into a great state of mind. So we're going to be moving on now into this little thought experiment. And what I'd like you to do is to sit in a comfortable place. You can keep your eyes closed or open, whatever you're comfortable with, but I'd like you to just let yourself relax, but remain alert to what's going on within yourself and around you. For the next few moments, I want you to become aware of your thinking. Just observe it. First, I'd like you to notice, what form does your thinking take? Does it show up as a voice or pictures? Maybe a strange combination of objects and symbols? What is your experience of your own thinking? How does it show up in your mind? Are your thoughts happening in any kind of order, or are they just happening randomly? As you pay attention to your thoughts, are you noticing any patterns? Are you noticing any strangeness or any surprises? Now notice that you're aware of your thoughts. Become aware of the awareness itself. Your simple ability to observe your thinking brings it more fully into your awareness. What happens in your body as you notice your thoughts? Do you have any kind of a physical response or a reaction to your thinking? What physical sensations do you notice that accompany your thoughts? Now let's go ahead and take our attention back to our awareness itself. You're paying attention to your own attention. Now I want you to notice that you can expand or contract your awareness just by deciding to. Let's try it. Allow your awareness to become as small as a pinpoint, contracting more and more tightly until it can't be contracted anymore. Now hold your awareness in that tiny contracted state just for a moment. Does that bring forth any physical sensations? Holding your awareness in a tight, tight pinpoint. Now allow your awareness to become the exact shape of your body, as if it's a second layer of skin. As you breathe, your awareness breathes. As you move, your awareness moves. Now allow your awareness to fill the room where you are. Let it reach each wall and hold itself in that shape for a moment. Let it feel the floor and touch the ceiling. Now allow your awareness to fill the entire building where you are. Be aware of all the space in the building. Every wall, all the ceilings, the floors. What about the windows? And be aware of every door. Notice that you can be aware of all of these things at the same time. Now allow your awareness to become the size of your town. In your mind's eye, become aware of the town limits and let your awareness extend to each of them. Now allow your awareness to become as big as the United States. Become aware of Maine in the northeast, to Florida in the southeast, and move your awareness over the entire middle of the country all the way to Washington State in the northwest and California in the southwest. Now allow your awareness to become the same size and shape as the Earth's atmosphere. Your awareness is now surrounding the entire earth. From this place, you can witness all the continents just by deciding to look. Notice Africa, Asia, the Middle East, Europe, South America, Australia and New Zealand, Antarctica, and North America. All that is happening in this moment of human experience is happening within your awareness. Enjoy the feeling of expanded awareness for just a moment. And then, very gently, bring your awareness back into the space of your mind. Now for a moment, let your attention move to the space within which your thoughts are happening. What do you notice about that space? Have you ever observed it before? Does it have any detectable limits? Are there boundaries of any kind? Notice the formlessness. There isn't anything to see, hear, touch, smell, or taste, but you notice that you can still be aware of this space. Notice the stillness of it. It's perfectly still, providing the entire backdrop for all of your thinking. Now notice the silence of it. Within that silence, every thought you have arises and falls. Now notice the energy in that space. While you can't see it, you can sense it. Your mind is teeming with life energy. And finally, notice the calmness and the peacefulness of that space. No matter how busy your thinking is, your mind is always at peace and it is always calm. As your awareness reaches into that space, notice yourself feeling alert and calm and completely energized. Now bring your attention back to my voice and come back into this present moment. The experience we just had together revealed three things that are at work constantly in our lives. The first is mind, the formless energy and space within which our entire experience of life arises. You've heard people say it's all in your mind. It very well may be. In fact, I believe that it is. Our experience of life happens completely within our mind. Consciousness is another thing that we noticed in this exercise. The ability to have an experience and to be aware of it. We noticed some really interesting things about consciousness. One of them is that it's something that responds to our suggestion. So consciousness will take the shape that we allow it to. And our thinking is the thing that it responds to in that. We can make our consciousness huge and we can make it minuscule. And the last thing that we learned in this exercise, the last thing that we noticed in this exercise was thought. Now, these three things are constant. They happen all the time. Mind, consciousness, and thought are at work constantly. And those are the building blocks of our experience of life. Now, I mentioned thought as being one of the things that we noticed in our exercise. Well, inspiration is just a kind of thought. And we're going to learn about a little bit more about that in a story that one of my favorite spiritual teachers told. His name is Lester Levinson. Now, Lester Levinson was a scientist and a spiritual teacher who in 1952 had an awakening experience after a life-threatening health condition drove him into a 3-month period of intense and relentless self-inquiry. In this process, he discovered that he could change his consciousness just by deciding to. His process always started with a question, and these questions were all over the map. What is life? What is happiness? Why am I not happy when I am loved by so many people? If I can't find happiness, then why am I here? After every insight, new questions emerged, and he followed them until his desire for understanding was satisfied. Listen to the insight that he received when he asked the question, what is intelligence? These are his words. This insight on love, seeing that happiness was determined by my capacity to love, was a tremendous insight. It began to free me, and any bit of freedom when you're plagued feels so good. I knew that I was going in the right direction. I had gotten a hold of a link of the chain of happiness and was determined not to let go until I had the entire chain. I felt a greater freedom. There was an easier concentration of my mind because of it, and I began to look better at my mind. What is my mind? What is intelligence? Suddenly a picture flashed of an amusement park bumper car. They're difficult to steer, so they continually bump into each other. They all get their electrical energy from the wire screen above the cars through a pole coming down to every car. The power above was symbolic of the overall intelligence and energy of the universe coming down the pole to me and everyone else, and to the degree that we step on the gas, we use it. Each driver of the cars is taking the amount of energy and intelligence that he wants from that wire. But they steer their car blindly, and they bump into other cars, and they bump, and they bump. I saw that if I chose to, I could take more and more of that overall intelligence. And so I dug into that. I began to examine thinking and its relationship to what's happening. And it was revealed that everything that was happening had a prior thought behind it, and that I never before related the thought and the happening because of the element of time between the two. When I saw that everything that was happening to me had a thought of it before it happened, I realized that if I could grab hold of this, I could consciously determine everything that was happening to me. And above all, I saw that I was responsible for everything that had happened to me, formerly thinking that the world was abusing me. I saw that my whole past life and all that tremendous effort to make money and in the end failing was due only to my thinking. This was a tremendous piece of freedom, to think that I was not a victim of this world, that it lay within my power to arrange the world the way I wanted it to be, that rather than being an effect of it, I could now be at cause over it and arrange it the way that I would like it to be. This was a tremendous realization, a tremendous feeling of freedom. Now, Lester Levinson saw in this image not only how intelligence works, but how all of our human abilities work. Our minds are a part of an infinite source of energy that is constantly pouring into our awareness and forming our experiences of life through our thinking. Levinson would go on to learn that when people were in higher states of consciousness, that their very experience of life changes with that expansion. And this brings me to my understanding of inspiration. In my experience, inspiration is new thinking that's the result of an expansive shift in my consciousness. For the moment, it's extraordinary because I've never thought that way before. It's so outside of my habits that I recognize it as different. While I don't have mind-blowing insights every day, I do experience moments of inspiration frequently. As I travel the changes in my own consciousness, every shift in consciousness brings about a shift in the quality of thought. My answer to the question, where does inspiration come from, is that it comes from the same place where all thought arises, your mind. Your mind is an infinite source of energy and insight. It generates tens of thousands of thoughts each day. While it may appear that inspiration can come from external sources, that isn't quite true. Inspiration comes from within, the vastness of your own mind. Now that we've covered what inspiration is and where it comes from, let's learn how we can increase the frequency and improve the quality of our inspiring thoughts. To do that, we need to understand a few things about how our minds work. The first thing is that it's impossible to change the thoughts that you're already having. They happen too quickly, and they're directly related to your state of mind in the present moment. Sure, you can try positive thinking and affirmations and things like that, but that isn't really changing your thinking that is happening right now. It's just adding more thinking to the mix. The other thing that we need to understand is that our experience is constructed more by the quality of our thinking than it is by the content of our thinking. The experience of feeling overwhelmed happens when we have more thoughts than we can process in the moment. It's a result of having too much to think about. Experiences like sadness and depression come along with thinking that is heavy and that's low in energy. Yes, we may experience thought content that matches those qualities, but the quality of our thought is the thing that's really driving our experience, and the quality of our thought is determined by our consciousness in the moment. It's impossible to have low-quality thinking when we're in a state of joy or peace. And just like that, it's impossible to have high-quality thinking when we're in a highly contracted and fearful state. Instead of learning how to control our thinking, I'd like to propose that we have a better shot if we learn how to work with our consciousness. Remember in the story about Lester Levinson that he discovered that he could feel better just by deciding to. He could choose to feel one shade better on the emotional scale, and then another shade, and another, until he was in a high state of love and appreciation. His belief was that consciousness was reflected in emotion. Lower emotional states reflected contracted consciousness, while higher emotional states reflected expanded consciousness. In the 40 years after his awakening, he worked with people to learn different ways to move up the emotional scale. Some of those ways worked with feelings. These techniques later were given names. Today they're still taught as either the Sedona method or the release technique. Another teacher, Sydney Banks, also had a spontaneous awakening experience, and from that experience was able to articulate the principles of spiritual psychology, the ones that I mentioned earlier, mind, consciousness, and thought. His suggestion to people was not to worry when low thinking happened. It's just going to happen. He encouraged people, though, to take time and let their thinking settle, which allowed their consciousness to open enough that their next thought was an improvement. All of these approaches have been helpful to me. Over the past few years, I've started working on my own way of shifting consciousness, which has had a huge impact on my creativity and quality of life. It starts by identifying my current state of mind. At any given moment, my state of mind falls into one of 4 categories, and it goes all over these 4 categories. The factors that define these categories are the level of openness in that moment, from resistant to receptive, and the state of my will, from passive to active. The 4 state of mind categories that I work with are passive resistant, active resistant, passive receptive, and active receptive. Here's a short description of each with some indicators. In the passive resistant state, consciousness is contracted. The emotions that tend to happen in this state of mind are things like apathy, despair, ambivalence, depression.
The behavior that arises in this state is usually avoidant and dependent behavior. Other people become responsibility. I make other people responsible for me. And I'm motivated in these times by survival and dependency. I'm looking for somebody else to take care of me. In the active resistant state, it's still contracted consciousness, but it expresses in different emotional states. The emotional states that go with this are fear, anger, greed, arrogance. The behavior that happens is usually kind of aggressive or dominant behavior or controlling. And in fact, the motivation in this state is usually power and control. In the passive receptive state, my consciousness is slightly more expanded. I'm open, but I'm still in the passive state where my will is not activated. It's a very sensitive emotional state. I can be kind of empathic in this state, but my creativity in the passive receptive state is dormant. What follows, in this state, I generally follow the directions of other people, or I put myself again in a situation where they are determining what I do. I'm mostly motivated in this state by acceptance and rejection. The last state that I'll talk about is the one that I feel like really gives us the best quality of thought, which means that our thought is going to be much more inspiring. And that is that we are in a state called active and receptive. Now, active receptivity is identified through a sense of expanded consciousness. Our consciousness really grows and expands in an active and receptive state. We have new ideas. We can't even stop the flow of ideas. And some of you might notice this when you're driving, or maybe even in the shower, or cooking, or doing something that's kind of a routine, that all of a sudden your mind is free to really open to new ideas and new possibilities that if you were really trying hard to figure it out, you wouldn't be able to. That's the active receptive state. In this state, you're alert, you're engaged, and you're assertive. And you're motivated by possibility and opportunity. It's a highly creative state. Now, my goal is to move into the active receptive state of mind from wherever else I am. And these are some of the ways that I do that. First, I move from an accusatory and judgmental state of mind to a state of mind of acceptance and allowing. I also want to let go of my need to know and figure out everything and shift into a more observing, listening, and witnessing approach. I release resistance. Resistance can show up as lethargy, tiredness, sluggishness, anxiety, worry, fear, depression, irritability, frustration, anger, craving, arrogance, pride. My method for releasing this is to focus my attention on the physical sensation of the emotion. Holding my attention in the center of where the physical sensation arises usually allows the emotion to loosen and move out of my body. When my emotional state is calm, centered, and receptive, I move into a more active will state. For me, that looks like surrounding myself with tools and raw materials. It might be an empty page and a pen, a laptop, a guitar, some food ingredients, and a frying pan. Whatever I want to create with, I surround myself with. And I usually like to start my process with curiosity and inquiry. For example, I started creating this talk by asking the question, what do I know about inspiration? Now, answering that question led to me writing 8 pages of a response, which became the body of this talk. I also asked, what more would I like to know about inspiration? And how would I like the lives of people who hear this talk to be different after they hear the talk than they were before? Questions that can be answered with a yes or no probably won't lead to much inspiration, but more honest inquiries often lead to large flashes of insight. My songwriting process usually starts with listening and curiosity. I listen to the things that people say, or I watch what they do, and I enter into a state of wonder about what they are doing and why they are doing it. What are the desires, emotions, hopes, and dreams that are driving their actions? The inspiration for the song "The Light Keeps Moving" that you heard me sing a couple of weeks ago came from watching Monica carry vegetables from our backyard garden into our kitchen, where she then made a delicious salad. The thoughts that arose as I watched this were all around the ways that the light of creation continues to move through the vessel of human creativity. And finally, the last ingredient in my method of arriving in a state of active receptivity is just to start. I'll write 100 different possible lines to a song and then start looking to see if any of them really communicate the message that's coming through in the moment. My method of cooking is to find whatever ingredients we have and wonder what I could possibly make from them. And after I start cutting vegetables or seasoning meat or finding the right kind of sauce, that's the time that my mind is most fertile for inspiration. I've seen time and again that if I'm in an active, receptive state of mind, that inspiration is easy to come by, and the quality of that thinking is exceptional. So to recap, to get into an active, receptive state, release your need for control, approval, and judgment. Release all emotions until you're in the highest possible emotional state. Surround yourself with tools and raw materials. Begin with curiosity and inquiry. Listen and observe. And don't wait for inspiration to start. Inspiration will most likely arrive after you've already started. I hope that you've gotten some insight about inspiration and that you'll be able to take some of this information this morning and use it in your own life, day to day. This practice has added a richness to my life that I wouldn't trade for anything, and I wish the same for each of you. So finally, this is my last day with you for a while. And I am both sad about that, and I am extremely hopeful about that. My own story about having to, get to the point of leaving is kind of a strange and long tale. I'll just give you the short version. And the short version is that for the last few years, I've really noticed a need in my own life and in my own space to have only one job. Ever since, I think the last full-time salaried job that I had I left in 1997. And ever since then, I've basically just been cobbling together 4 or 5 part-time jobs to make it. And quite honestly, I am too tired to continue to do that. So my biggest reason for making this decision has been that I really need to just have one job, and I just need to have the ability to do that one job really well. I'm not disappointed about that, folks. I have to tell you, I've been kind of ready to be done with my music career for quite a while. And I'm going to still play occasionally, but I am not interested in making my music a part of my livelihood anymore. And that's actually been a very liberating thing. I've loved music, and it's been my longest passion. I wanted to be a musician from the time that I was about 10 years old. And I have enjoyed my music career immensely, and I've had a lot of really amazing opportunities and experiences to treasure the memory of. But for the past 2 years, my passion has come up in another area, and that is in just helping people to get the life that they want. I've been a consultant and coach since 1996. I even started that before I left my full-time job. And I've done that kind of part-time ever since then. But over the last few years, my interest and my passion in that line of work has just exploded. And I feel like that is where I really need to be for the next segment of my life. I will miss every one of you, and I will miss Unity. It has been my spiritual home, and it will continue to be my spiritual home. We've been there since 2011, and I'm hopeful that some of the things that are going on right now will set the stage for an amazing chapter in the life of Unity of Fort Collins. And I'm excited to see that unfold. And I'm excited for what's possible for all of us as a result of that. I know that there is something behind all of this that is creating through us a community that just has an incredible impact within our own walls and in our own community and in the world. And I'm excited to see that happen. I leave you with my love. That doesn't go anywhere. And I mentioned in a note to a person from Unity this morning that my only goal at Unity has been to get us connected through singing together. And I'm satisfied that that's happened. Please feel free to stay in touch and just always keep me in your heart, and I'll keep you in mind. Thank you.
And so it is that blessed time in our service. And I just want to give a shout out to Franklin. What a beautiful message. I know that I received a lot from what he spoke today. So it's just gratitude. And that's what we do in our prosperity blessing. We send our tithes, our gifts, our love offerings as a tangible way to say thank you to the universe. Thank you to Unity of Fort Collins. Thank you. And it is that tangible way to say thank you to the divine for all the gifts that we have and that we're blessed with every day. So this is the time when we do that. And we want to thank you for sending us your tithes, your gifts, your offerings. The checks are coming in. You're blessing this beautiful community with your green love. And I know that many of you are also using the PayPal button on the Unity of Fort Collins website. So thank you, thank you, thank you. The truth is we are thriving, as in our vision statement, and it's because of you. So please, if you care to join me, put your hands on your heart and let us speak our prosperity blessing together. Taking a breath in. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God.
You've got to accentuate the positive and heal them. Annihilate the negative and latch on to the affirmative, and don't mess with Mr. In Between. You've got to spread joy up to the maximum and bring gloom down to the minimum, and have faith, 'cause pandemoniums are liable to walk right through your door. To illustrate my last remark, Jonah in the whale, Noah in that ark. What did they do when everything looked so dark? You've got to accentuate the positive and heal them. Annihilate the negative and latch on to the affirmative, and don't mess with Mr. In Between. You've got to accentuate the positive and heal them. I hate the negative and latch on to the affirmative and don't mess with Mr. In Between. You've got to spread joy up to the maximum and bring gloom down to the minimum and have faith, 'cause pandemonium's liable to walk right through your door. To illustrate my last remark, Jonah in the whale, Noah in that ark. What did they do when everything looks so dark? You've got to accentuate the positive and eliminate the negative and latch on to the affirmative and don't mess with Mr. In Between. No, don't mess with Mr. In Between. Hey, never mess with Mr. In Between.
And now I'd like to invite you to join in our closing prayer of protection. Again, just remembering who we are. Again, my hands go to my heart, knowing that we are the divine speaking the truth of itself. And together, the light of God surrounds us. I am that light. The love of God enfolds us. I am that love. The power of God protects us. I am that power. The presence of God watches over us. I am that presence. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And so, beloved ones, it has been another celebration, another revelation of the power that we have. We have the power to choose. We have the power to create. And it's all right here, as Franklin has shared with us. It's through our thinking that we get to be inspired and create. And so I know that for every one of us, we are making choices to listen and to connect and to open and to choose the thoughts that really inspire us, that create that inspiration in whatever ways that it does for you. So have the most creative, inspiring week. I know I am. And we're sending you lots of love. And please, if you can join us, let us celebrate the love known as Franklin Taggart. Take good care and blessed be.